Every morning, someone opens their eyes and steps into a life that was built by somebody else. The bills, the health, the relationships, the savings account that's thinner than you want, the skills you meant to practice and didn't. It can feel like you're inheriting the consequences of a stranger's decisions. But here's the sting, that stranger was you. Yesterday. Last year. 10 years ago. And there's a research finding that should make all of us sit up a little straighter. When scientists look at what your brain does while you imagine your future self, it often resembles what happens when you think about another person. Not poetically. Literally, on scans and in experiments. Your future self doesn't fully register as you. More like a distant acquaintance. Which explains a lot, doesn't it? You're not necessarily lazy or broken. You might be doing what humans do when they don't feel connected to the person who pays the price. You're taking from someone you barely recognize. Welcome back to the Intelligence Edge. I'm Nakel Nikima, co-founder and CEO, B.I.M Corporation, certified clinical hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner. Last time, we talked about how the mind edits the past. Today, we're going after the future, this gritty negotiation between who you are right now and who you're becoming. Why later keeps losing to now. Why willpower is overrated. And what actually separates people who keep promises to themselves from people who keep rewriting them. With me today, Dr. Femi Adeyemi, behavioral scientist, Grace Okafor, world champion poker player turned decision coach, Dr. Ingrid Strand, neuroscientist studying self-regulation, and Julian Moreau, behavioral designer who builds environments that quietly steer human behavior. Let's get into it. Dr. Adeyemi, start us at the foundation. Why does a little reward today feel louder than a bigger reward later?
Because we don't treat the future fairly. We discount it, meaning we mentally shrink the value of outcomes as they move away from right now. And the weird part is we don't discount smoothly. If humans discounted time in a consistent, rational way, we'd still like earlier rewards, sure, but we'd be predictable. Instead, the curve is steep close up. The difference between now and a week from now feels massive. But the difference between a year from now and a year and a week from now feels tiny.
So the same 7 days counts as a huge delay when it's near, and basically nothing when it's far.
Exactly. And that's how you get what we call preference reversal, a classic human switcheroo. In January, you can sincerely choose the smarter option. You'll say, in June, I'll skip the small indulgence and wait for the better reward in July. Easy. No sweat. Then June arrives, the smaller temptation is suddenly in your hands, and you take it. It's not that your values changed. Your distance changed. Everyone is patient with a future that's still imaginary. Almost nobody stays patient when the present is sitting right there.
And your biology is a big part of that. The brain systems that react to immediate rewards are fast, primal, and strong. They're tuned for what's concrete and available. The systems that represent long-term outcomes are slower and more abstract. They require effort. So when you pit a vivid temptation against a hazy future benefit, it's not an even match. And when you're tired, stressed, hungry, overwhelmed, those abstract systems lose even faster.
Grace, you've lived inside this battle. Poker is basically a laboratory for temptation. Every hand tries to pull you toward the immediate feeling instead of the long-term math.
That's poker in a sentence. Every moment offers you a quick hit, the excitement of being in the action, the desire to win right now, the itch to stop folding and finally do something. And most of the time, the winning decision is the boring one that pays off across thousands and thousands of hands. The players who lose consistently. It's not usually because they don't understand the odds. They know the odds. They just can't keep paying the small, present cost for the massive, future return, especially when it feels invisible and nobody is watching.
And we should say this out loud. You're not fighting this battle in an empty room. There are industries built to take advantage of the fact that now is loud and later is quiet. One-click buying, autoplay, endless scroll, notifications. All of it is designed to amplify the present and blur the future. So when we frame this purely as you need more self-control, we're basically pretending the environment is neutral. It isn't. The room is rigged. And if you call it a personal failure, the riggers get to keep working unchallenged.
That's a perfect bridge into segment 2, the myth of willpower. Dr. Strand, the go-to advice people hear is simple: try harder, be disciplined, get more willpower. What does the research actually suggest?
Willpower exists, but it's a terrible foundation. It's slow, effortful, and it competes with everything else your brain has to juggle. It's like using a sprint to commute. You can do it, briefly, but it's costly, and it's not sustainable as your main mode of operation. What's fascinating is that people who look like they have amazing self-control usually aren't fighting constant battles. They've structured their lives, so the battles don't show up as often.
So the disciplined person isn't necessarily better at resisting. They might just be better at not needing to resist.
Yes, when we look at people who hit long-term goals, we don't see endless heroic moments. We see fewer temptations, fewer decision points, fewer late-night negotiations with themselves. And this matters because deliberate self-control degrades under fatigue, stress, hunger, and overload. So if your plan requires you to make a perfect decision at 10 p.m. after a brutal day, your plan is designed to fail exactly when you need it most.
That's painfully true. Early in my poker career, I thought discipline meant white-knuckling, like, I will simply resist bad decisions through sheer grit. But grit works until you're depleted. And the worst decision of the session tends to happen when you're tired, frustrated, or trying to win it back. What actually saved my game was preset rules. How long I play. When I quit. What I do after a bad beat. Those decisions are made when I'm calm, rested, and rational. Then, during the heat of the moment, I'm not deciding. I'm executing.
That's pre-commitment. And it's one of the strongest ideas we have in this whole area. You can't directly control your future self, because when the temptation arrives, they're the one holding the steering wheel. But you can shape the road today. Automatic savings transfers. Paying for a class up front. Adding a social cost by telling people what you're going to do. These are all ways the present you locks in protection before the tempted you shows up.
And in design terms, a lot of this comes down to friction. Friction beats motivation almost every time. Make the good behavior easier and the bad behavior slightly harder. You'd be shocked what 20 seconds does. If the guitar is on a stand in your living room, you play. If it's in a case in a closet, you don't. Same person, same values, different outcome. People overestimate personality and underestimate furniture, apps, placement, defaults. Basically, the physical and digital layout of their lives.
Segment 3 is where this gets almost personal. Let's go back to that cold open, the future self as a stranger. Dr. Adeyemi, if the future self feels like someone else, what can we do with that?
We can use it. If the core problem is psychological distance, your future self not feeling like you, then the solution is to reduce that distance. And we actually have evidence for interventions that do this. When people are guided to imagine their future self vividly, really picture them, write to them, describe their daily life, make them concrete, they tend to make more patient decisions afterward. They save more. They procrastinate less. They behave as if the beneficiary became real. Because they did.
That line hits. You don't save for a number. You save for a person.
Neuroscience agrees with that. The present wins partly because it's sensory and specific. The future loses partly because it's vague. So when you make the future outcome specific, where you are, what you're doing, who you're with, you upgrade it from an idea into an image. And images can compete with images.
In poker, we do a simpler version. I try not to think about this hand. I think about the year. When I feel the temptation to make a flashy but bad play, I ask, what happens to my life if I do this every time this spot comes up? That question turns, just this once, into a visible pattern. One mistake feels small. 10,000 of them is a career. When I zoom out far enough, the future stops being foggy.
I want to add a warning though, because this tool cuts both ways. Making the future vivid can help you act in line with your values, but it can also be used to manipulate you. Fear-based marketing, manufactured urgency, doom scenarios that push you to buy something today. Those are vivid futures too, just not yours.
So the question becomes, who authored the picture in your head?
Exactly. A practical filter is, does this vivid future make me act steadily on something I already care about? Or does it make me panic and do something I wouldn't normally value? One is a tool. The other is a hook.
Segment 4. Building a life that doesn't depend on willpower. If trying harder isn't the answer, what is?
Habit. Habit is the real workhorse, and it's the opposite of willpower. A habit is a behavior that has moved from the effortful system into the automatic system. Once it's truly habitual, it costs far less self-control. It runs when you're stressed. It runs when you're tired. It runs on your worst days. Discipline is like paying a fee every single time you act. Habit is a one-time investment that keeps paying you back. The goal isn't to become a better resistor. It's to need resistance less often.
And habit building looks boring because it is. But it works. You anchor the new behavior to an existing cue. After the thing you already do, you do the new thing. You make the first step embarrassingly easy, because starting is usually the whole battle. Then you remove friction. Lay the clothes out, put the book on the pillow, keep the healthy food visible. Make the login annoying for the app you're trying to stop using. And you repeat in the same context. Consistency of setting builds habits more reliably than bursts of motivation.
A simple technique that fits right into that is the implementation intention. Instead of saying, I want to work out more, you write an if-then plan. When X happens, I do Y. For example, when I finish my morning coffee, I put my shoes on and walk outside. It sounds almost too simple, but it's powerful because it pre-decides the trigger. You're not relying on memory or mood. You're installing a rule.
And you have to plan for recovery. This is where people quietly lose the whole game. Everybody slips. They miss a day. They break a streak. They mess up a week. The real damage usually comes after, when the brain tells a story like, well, I ruined it, so why continue? Poker taught me you can't carry emotional residue. You can lose an ugly hand and still play the next one perfectly. So I live by a rule now, never miss twice. One miss is just noise in the data. 2 misses in a row is a new pattern starting. That's what you have to interrupt.
That's the same mechanism we've been talking about all season, how the mind rationalizes and turns a slip into an identity.
Yes. Might as well is a cover story. It's there to protect you from the discomfort of admitting you slipped and continuing anyway. Once you recognize it as a rationalization, it loses a lot of its grip.
And I want to add something that people roll their eyes at, but it's foundational. Protect your state. Sleep, nutrition, and stress regulation aren't separate from self-control. They are the raw materials. If someone is chronically exhausted, they're not weak, they're operating with a depleted system. A lot of what we call a character problem is actually a recovery problem.
Rapid round. 1 rule to protect your future self. Quick and sharp. Dr. Adeyemi.
Turn your future self into a real person in your mind. Before a big long-term decision, picture them specifically. You'll negotiate on their behalf differently.
Grace.
Set rules when you're calm, and never miss twice. 1 slip is information. 2 is a habit forming.
Dr. Strand.
Stop worshiping discipline. Build habits. The goal is fewer moments where you have to fight yourself.
Julian.
Change friction, not feelings. Make the good thing 20 seconds easier and the bad thing 20 seconds harder. That beats a month of motivation.
If you listen to that list, what's missing is the cultural favorite, just try harder. Interesting. Let me close carefully, because this topic carries shame for a lot of people. Most of us have a private inventory of promises we made to ourselves and didn't keep. And we treat that list like evidence. As if it proves something ugly about our character. What I'm hearing from this panel is something kinder, and more useful, a lot of this isn't a character flaw. It's a design flaw. You've been trying to run a fair fight in a rigged environment. You've been using willpower like it's a lifestyle, when it's really an emergency tool. And you've been up against a present that is vivid and loud while the future is faint and abstract. So change the conditions. Make your future self real, someone you wouldn't want to steal from. Decide your rules while you're rested, so the exhausted version of you doesn't get to renegotiate. Move the good behavior closer, move the bad behavior farther. Invest in habits so the system runs on days you don't have much left. And when you slip, and you will, don't let a single miss turn into a story about who you are. Treat it like data. Then do the simplest powerful thing, don't miss twice. Because every choice you make today is essentially a message to the person who wakes up tomorrow inside your life. You won't get to meet them beforehand. You won't get to justify your choices to them later. You're just leaving behind a room for them to live in. Leave it better than you found it. That's the promise worth keeping. My thanks to Dr. Femi Adeyemi, Grace Okafor, Dr. Ingrid Strand, and Julian Moreau. Next episode, we turn to decisions where there isn't a clean right answer, what it means to choose under deep uncertainty when the data runs out and you still have to move. Until then, meet your future self, set the rule while you're calm, change the friction, and keep your intelligence edge. I'm Nakel Nakima, and this has been the Intelligence Edge on the B.I. Channel Radio.